Hello, I'm honored to be part of the Pujang Innovation Forum. Thank you for extending the invitation to speak with you. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the hard work of everyone who has helped bring this important conference together, and especially the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Municipal Government of Shanghai. And a special thanks to my fellow keynote speakers today, Minister Wong and Minister Al-Amari, for joining us as well. For over a decade now, China has been a great partner with our foundation in working to advance innovation here and around the world. Thank you. I understand the theme of this year's forum is innovation for a better life. We are living in a time when both the remarkable power of science to improve lives and the urgent need for more innovation to address the world's greatest challenges are on full display. We're still in the midst of the biggest global public health crisis in a century. COVID-19 is causing immense suffering and economic hardship, especially in nations that do not have ready access to vaccines. Over the past 2 months, some countries have experienced the biggest spikes in cases and deaths since the start of the pandemic. 1 year ago, there were no vaccines or drugs against the coronavirus at all. But the world's scientists have answered the call. Thanks to unprecedented scientific cooperation, such as sharing genetic sequences online and collaborating on clinical trials, they were able to accelerate the development of safe and effective vaccines against COVID-19. Never before in human history has the world gone from identifying a virus to immunizing people against it in so short a time. And in the last 4 months, the COVAX facility has reached more than 120 countries with some of these COVID-19 vaccines. This impressive achievement is the result of multilateral partnerships and a coordinated mechanism for global collaboration. So the world has made remarkable strides in just 1 year, but we have to be honest about where we are collectively falling short. 83% of the first billion vaccine doses, more than 4 out of 5, went to people in wealthy countries, while barely any, 0.2%, went to those in low-income countries. If current immunization rates continue, it will take more than a decade for many nations to reach the level where herd immunity takes hold. That's not just unfair, it's a recipe for disaster. No one is safe until everyone is safe. So as long as some countries cannot vaccinate their people, the pandemic and the many hardships it causes will continue. That in turn will magnify all the social and economic disparities that low and middle income nations already deal with. And the threat of more dangerous and even more vaccine-resistant variants of the disease will continue. The world must act quickly and together to address these gaps in access. I remain optimistic we can meet this challenge. I believe the world will defeat this pandemic and recover stronger, more prepared for future public health crises, and more equal. To do this, we need to ramp up funding for initiatives like COVAX that is distributing vaccines. We also need to increase the number of qualified vaccines in the portfolio and ramp up manufacturing and supply around the world. I hope to see COVID-19 vaccine supply from China increase and play a significant global role. Most of all, we need more inclusive innovation. Innovation that doesn't stop at the R&D stage or cater only to those who can afford it. Innovation that reaches people trapped on the wrong side of entrenched inequities and gives everyone a chance to lead a healthy, productive life. That goal is the reason the Gates Foundation was established more than 20 years ago. When we learned about all the often preventable diseases that were still killing millions of children, we wanted to help bring them to an end. Since then, we have worked with a huge number of partners around the world, wherever we could make a difference, including many successful partnerships in China. Indeed, China has emerged as a major global force for inclusive innovation. Its increasing investment in scientific research, as well as its efforts to ensure that new ideas and tools become effective public goods, have helped save and improve hundreds of millions of lives, both in China and beyond. For example, everyone knows the story of Tu Youyou. She led the team that discovered artemisinin, one of the most significant breakthroughs in tropical medicine in the 20th century. Her work saved millions of lives that would otherwise be lost to malaria. And her pioneering research was just the beginning. 50 years ago, when Tu made her discovery, China had 30 million malaria cases each year. Today, China has registered 4 consecutive years of 0 indigenous cases. This is a remarkable achievement. It demonstrates the importance of both staying the course, maintaining focus and investment in scientific innovation over time, and ensuring that new ideas and tools become products and solutions that have impact at scale. True to the spirit of inclusive innovation, and even as the disease recedes within its own borders, China's commitment to defeating malaria worldwide continues. One of our Chinese partners is working on biosynthesizing artemisinin, which, if successful, will ensure a continuous supply of this critical ingredient and help lower the cost of anti-malarial drugs. Another Chinese grantee is screening active ingredients from herbal medicines to discover new effective insecticides against mosquitoes, which carry the parasite that transmits malaria, and keep a step ahead of insecticide resistance. We are also working with partners in China and in Africa, as well as with organizations like the Global Fund, to adopt China's proven models and approaches to defeating malaria for local African communities. And we are supporting Chinese companies to get more anti-malarial drugs and diagnostics qualified by the World Health Organization so they can enter the global market to benefit more people. Along those lines, Chinese-made vaccines are now also making a difference all over the world. 15 years ago, our foundation was working with several partners to reduce the global burden of Japanese encephalitis, or JE. Spread by mosquitoes, JE was the main cause of viral encephalitis in Asia and killed or disabled thousands of children every year. But a single-dose affordable vaccine was not available on the global market. Then our partners at PATH heard that a Chinese manufacturer had created a safe, affordable, and effective single-dose JE vaccine. This vaccine had already immunized 200 million Chinese children since the 1980s. We met with the team to discuss if we could help them get the vaccine approved by the World Health Organization and scaled up for use in other countries. They immediately said, "Of course we'll do it, whatever you need." 8 years later, after a lot of hard work by the Chinese manufacturer, Chinese health authorities, and international partners, the JE vaccine passed WHO qualification in October 2013, paving the way for global use. As a result, more than 400 million children outside China have been protected from death or disability due to JE. The JE success created momentum for more Chinese vaccines to get WHO approval. Today, 3 other Chinese vaccines addressing influenza, polio, and hepatitis A have been qualified and are now available to countries in need. In addition, Chinese manufacturers have pledged a considerable amount of HPV vaccine through Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, to help end cervical cancer across the developing world. And WHO has now granted emergency use listing to Chinese-made COVID vaccines, which will be instrumental in closing the access gaps I discussed earlier. What China has achieved for the health and well-being of its own people and for people around the world has been inspiring. I believe China's long and robust commitment to inclusive innovation will help the world bring the COVID-19 pandemic to an end more quickly. It will also help us to remedy the damage done by the virus. Our Goalkeepers report last September found that the pandemic had set back progress on nearly every indicator of the Sustainable Development Goals. Extreme poverty increased by 7%. An estimated 130 million more people fell into chronic hunger. And vaccine coverage, a good proxy for how health systems are functioning, dropped to levels last seen in the 1990s, setting the world back about 25 years in 25 weeks. But with your leadership on inclusive innovation, I believe we can get back on track, lessen the poverty and food insecurity, and accelerate progress towards the SDGs. And even as we work to end this pandemic, we face another potential global calamity around the corner in climate change. I just wrote a book called How to Avoid a Climate Disaster that talks about the tools and technologies we need to reduce greenhouse gases, mitigate continued warming, and help people on the front lines adapt to a changing climate. I am confident we can rise to meet this crisis too. Here again, China's dedication to inclusive innovation can help lead the way to a net zero emissions future. We've learned a lot through our many partnerships over the years and have been impressed by the hard work and inclusive vision of so many Chinese innovators and institutions. We have also found that the best way forward in any endeavor is by building broad, diverse partnerships to address a shared challenge. As an international philanthropic organization, our foundation is uniquely positioned to help create these necessary coalitions. Whether it's supporting R&D, helping with regulatory approvals, or connecting multi-sector partners together in common cause, we want to help in any way we can to see that everyone has access to state-of-the-art life-saving innovations. A good example of that is the Global Health and Drug Discovery Institute, GHDDI. They're working to discover breakthrough tuberculosis drugs, among other things, and we're very excited about that work. We believe that all our partnerships can become stronger over time, and that we can take the long view when it comes to progress. So we're committed to working with you and all of our partners over the long term to make a difference for those in need. COVID-19 has reminded the world once again that we are all connected, and it has shown us that the power of innovation is central to overcoming any challenge. By working together, continuing to support inclusive innovation, and making sure nobody is left behind, I'm confident we will not only end this pandemic, but build a better, fairer future. Thank you.